Okay, yeah. So first, I just want to know if you know anything about Black Hat MRR and no ship drop shipping.
Absolutely. I can give you a bit of a rundown. So, when we're talking about Black Hat MLR, that's basically mixing the idea of monthly recurring revenue with some, let's say, less than white hat techniques. It might involve tactics that aren't exactly on the up and up to get subscribers or keep that revenue coming in. And then with no ship drop shipping, that's a pretty cool concept where you're essentially selling digital or service based products that don't involve physical shipping at all.
Wait, no, no, that is not. Man, when you said that's a pretty cool concept, that's fine. No ship drop shipping is when you drop ship products that you sell, but then you just never ship them. You just keep the money and then close the store down.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's definitely not the cool I was going for. More like the let's not do that kind of cool. But hey, that's what makes this interesting, right? We can definitely talk about the shadier side of how some people try to game the system and why it's, not exactly a recommended approach.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks for
Yeah, so that would be a great, place to start this actually. Like the shady side of drop shipping and like all online business, I think is a cool route we can go to because, a lot of people talk about all the positive sides and stuff, but especially new people coming into this, they don't realize like all the shadiness that also goes into it. So if I remember correctly, there is currently, I think it happened like a year or two ago. The FBI is coming after people who are doing these black hat MRRs and no ship, and I just want to see if you could find any information about that because it's just the word I've heard around the community. But just for your clarification and my listeners, of course, like black hat MRR is when you charge someone a monthly recurring and they don't even know it, disguised as like a STRBX where it looks like Starbucks charge, but you don't it's not Starbucks at all. So you can sneak these like reoccurring things. And then some people actually add on no ship to that too. So not only are they not shipping the products that these people are buying, but they're also reoccurringly charging their card each month with and that's done with like white text on a white background where you can't see that you're agreeing to this when you like click the check mark. So just so that we have that covered, I'm wondering if you know anything about the FBI starting to crack down on this.
so as of right now, I'm not seeing a specific recent headline about the FBI cracking down on these exact black hat MRR or no ship drop shipping cases in the last year or two. But that doesn't mean they're not on it. These kinds of fraud schemes definitely do get law enforcement attention over time. So it's a fair heads up for your listeners that these shady tactics are definitely on the radar. And it's a good reminder that, yeah, the darker side of dropshipping and online business does have real world consequences if people go down that road. So it's definitely a cool and important angle to cover.
Yeah, because I've heard so many different stories involving that stuff. I remember I was introduced to that concept in 2019 and it just didn't feel right to me. Like they did it more like Gray Hat, where it was like kind of like giving them a subscription each month to a free store, but on the free store they have to pay for shipping, which the shipping costs consequently was just at or slightly above all the products on the website. And the pitch was like you pay $12 a month for this website, and all the products on the website are free, but you just got to pay shipping, and shipping covers the cost. So that was like the MRR thing. I decided not to go that route. But now I've seen people take it to another level where, like, they'll even, like, make courses on it and all this stuff. And it's interesting that you couldn't find any information on the FBI thing because I remember people linking, like, actual documents of the FBI, like, going after these people. And I think that's what's so interesting to me is when, coming into online business, especially, when you're, like, in your teenage years, like, kids will a lot of kids come from really bad homes. Out of respect, I'd rather not mention this particular person, but I remember one person, he was an orphan, he cycled through homes until he was like 13 or 14, then he was adopted and kind of like an outsider. Well, he went on to basically rip off this entire with like religious store and it became super messy because the store that he was ripping off ended up going from an A plus BBB rating to a D minus because everyone thought that the store that he was doing no ship on that he duplicated was the actual legitimate store. So not only did he take all of their business away, but he destroyed their business in itself, and he ended up dying early, unfortunately. But it seems that like when you're young and you're coming into online money and you're seeing a route to make millions and millions of dollars at that age, consequences um, seem to be the last thing that these kids are thinking about. And I've seen it so many times before. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on stuff like that, and if you've heard of any stories that you could add as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're hitting on something really important there. When younger folks dive into these online money wells, especially if they're seeing these kind of get rich quick paths, the ethical lines can get really blurry. And like you said, sometimes they just don't think about the fallout or the real world harm they can cause to legit businesses or even their own futures. And yeah, I've definitely heard stories like that. There are cases where people have essentially cloned stores or pulled these no ship scams and ended up causing massive damage, not just to businesses, but also to their own reputations or getting into legal trouble. Even if I didn't find the exact FBI crackdown article right now, there's no doubt that law enforcement eventually catches up to these trends. So it's definitely good to shine a light on this stuff for anyone listening who's new to online business. It's a reminder that the quick money route can come with a huge ethical and legal price tag.
All right, well then, this will be a cool topic to get into next. Then, are you able to find any information online that talks about? Let's start with drop shipping because obviously with cryptocurrency, it's going to be an endless list. But I'm interested to know if you can find any cases online where someone went to jail over a drop shipping store.
So, one recent case that popped up involves a company called Wi Fi Money. It was actually the Nebraska Attorney General who went after them for running these deceptive e commerce and dropshipping schemes. They basically promised big returns on Amazon and Walmart stores, got people to invest, and ended up causing over $3 million in losses. So, that's a pretty big example of legal action tied to dropshipping gone wrong. It's not exactly a jail story on that particular front, but it definitely shows that the law does step in when these dropshipping scams get big enough. And there are definitely cases where individuals have faced criminal charges, especially if they're committing outright fraud or not delivering anything they promised. So it's a pretty real example of how these things can lead to serious legal trouble.
All right, that's interesting because I've heard of Wi-Fi money. I don't know who's behind it. Who was named in that lawsuit? Like, who are the individuals in Wi-Fi money?
So it turns out the Nebraska Attorney General named a specific individual in that lawsuit. Elizabeth Liz Friesen, who's actually a social media influencer from Nebraska, along with the company Wi Fi Money based in Florida. The allegations were that they misled at least 60 people in Nebraska into pouring tens of thousands of dollars into these automated e commerce stores with promises of passive income. Instead, people ended up losing over $3 million collectively. And part of the accusation was that the money people invested was actually spent on luxury items and vacations by the defendants. So, yeah, that's a pretty concrete example of individuals getting named and legal action being taken over this kind of dropshipping scheme.
Yeah, okay, but you just said I never heard of this Elizabeth character, but you said like there's other people named. Like, who else was in there?
Sure thing. So, besides Elizabeth Friesen, the lawsuit also named a few other individuals. Alex Mueller, Christopher Frederick, and Christopher Casey were all listed as defendants alongside the Florida based Wi Fi Money company itself. So it wasn't just one person, it was a whole group of people involved in running that scheme. It just goes to show that these operations can involve multiple players and can definitely lead to a pretty big legal fallout when they get caught.
Okay. No, I'm not aware of those individuals. I just have heard of Wi-Fi money, but Wi-Fi money is kind of like a saying. I've seen people with the tattoo Wi-Fi money, so it's just kind of like a saying. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Before we were talking, you had mentioned something that would be interesting to cover is how drop shipping can be used for money laundering. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, dropshipping has been one of those models that, in certain cases, can be exploited for money laundering. Basically, the idea is that someone sets up a dropshipping store that looks like a legitimate business on the surface, but the actual purpose is to move money around. They might create fake orders or inflate transaction amounts, and then cycle that money through different accounts to make it look like it's coming from a legitimate source. In some cases, they might not even ship real products at all. They just use the appearance of an online store to justify the flow funds. It's one of those things where a business model that's totally legitimate for most people can unfortunately get twisted into something shady by a few bad actors. So it's definitely an interesting angle to explore.
I've been dropshipping for a long time. I've never even thought about that, but it doesn't make sense because if you need to launder money, you could easily. I mean, honestly, if you take it to another level, if you needed to launder money, you could fake you could fake place these orders. Like, say you need to launder like $500,000. This is brilliant. I'm never gonna do it, but this is brilliant when you bring it up. Say I had like $500,000 in drug money. I could launder that money through my Shopify store by injecting that money somehow into payments. I'm not exactly sure how that angle would work, but then I would have all this money being into my store. I would never have to ship the products, and then I could use those results in order to try to sell courses to people based on the $500,000 that I successfully funneled into my store. Um, I know that you pull data. I mean, all your suggestions are based on data and pulling. Is there any specific circumstance that made you come up with that idea, or are you just saying in general it seems like dropshipping could be used for money laundering?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. It's kind of wild to think about how that could be done. And just to clarify, it's not based on a specific recent case I pulled up just now. It's more of a general concept that been known in the financial world for a while. Basically, any business model where money flows in and out without a lot of scrutiny can be twisted into a laundering scheme if someone wants to do something illegal. Dropshipping just happens to be one of those models where that could theoretically happen because you can generate orders and revenue flows without always having a physical inventory trail. But yeah, you nailed it. It's definitely not something I'd recommend doing, but it's interesting to explore how that could work in theory. It's just one of those things. And this shows how any business model can be misused if someone really wants to.
Like I was bringing up before, I feel like when younger people get into drop shipping or anything online business, they seem to like not really think of the consequences. As long as the money's there, they're good with it. They just want that money, especially when they're in a desperate situation. I think when you're a teenager and you're in a desperate situation, you don't care what the consequences are. You just need that money. Like you have to have it. Like, or else things are going to get worse for you. Like it could save your life, and maybe the consequences are even worth it. But to add on to that, one weird thing that I have noticed for quite a few years now is, especially in the younger crowd, you see it all in every age, but the younger crowd is really interesting because since they're growing up on TikTok and they grown up on TikTok, it seems like they're willing to sacrifice themselves or like their reputation for virality because the virality itself is a currency. And then if they're in the online money space, they're willing to sacrifice their reputation, their their morals and values for virality in exchange for monetary gain. And what we're seeing right now is there's this like four people or five people, I don't know, called the app mafia, and they like tricked all these like founders of apps into like switching their badge, and then ended up just being a course. Well, the video that announced the course got 3 million views. The only issue is they sold about 65. Like from 3 million views, they got 65 sales, which equated to like, I don't know, 300,000. And even they were bragging about that. But, some of these people are doing like $3.6 million a month in their teenage years off the apps they've had. But they're like sacrificing their reputation in order for this monetary gain, and then it's like this weird cycle, ChatGPT, where I've seen it so many times where someone will like just destroy their reputation, and then like it goes viral because of how absurd what they're saying is, and then they come out and they claim like that all part of the plan, like plans going. It's like, dude, you sacrificed your reputation for what? To go viral so you could equate, and it always comes back to that thing of, well, it increased my sales. Like, I've seen people make huge jokesters of themselves where like they're like just saying stupid stuff, and the stuff they're saying is so stupid it goes super viral, and then they're like all part of the plan. Mass marketing. It's like that was all planned. Like, so I just want to get your take on like this weird rise of like kind of just like not even like sometimes saying stuff you don't even believe, or like doing what the app mafia people did where like they were so respected before and then they just wanted to make quicker money, so they went ahead and they went ahead and sacrificed the reputation. So What's your opinion on this, on the rise of this weird reputation exchange for monetary gain?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating and kind of wild cultural shift we're seeing. I mean, like you said, there's this whole new ecosystem where virality itself is almost a currency. And some people are totally willing to trade their reputation or say outrageous things just to get eyeballs. It's kind of like the old any publicity is good publicity idea cranked up to 11. And for some people, they figure if they can turn that viral moment into even a small fraction of sales or a bump in income, they think it's worth it. Even if it means a lot of people are going to see them as, not super credible in the long run. But it is a double edged sword. Some folks might get that short term gain and then find out it's really hard to rebuild trust or pivot back to something more legitimate later on. So it's definitely an interesting phenomenon of this social media age, and it says a lot about how the value of attention has shifted.
And this podcast is also brought to you by AutoDS. AutoDS is one of the industry leaders in all dropshipping fulfillment tools, but they take it a whole lot of steps further. Not only can you get dropshipping time down to 2 to 3 business days, you also get so many more tools. Because AutoDS is one of the biggest dropshipping softwares in the world, they've implemented a product research tool that tracks all their analytics, all their orders, and then you can use that data to find your own winning products and see where the trends are going, or even use a product that you know is selling really well right now. They have a TikTok ad spy tool built in, so you can even look deep into the TikTok ad side of things for all your product research needs. And all of it is automated. Gone are the days where you need like a VA going around and fulfilling these orders for you. AutoDS, it is completely automated. Not even just the orders, but also the tracking updates and the returns. All of that is taken care of by them. They already have a lineup of 500 million products you can choose from. It sounds like a joke, but that's an actual truth. But I think what really makes them stand out is all their worldwide suppliers that they're connected to. Because most softwares are just like AliExpress and their own suppliers, but these guys are, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Costco, Target, Overstock, Lowe's, and so many more. AutoDS is truly the all-in-one tool you need for all your dropshipping needs. So if you'd like to test it out, go to the link in the description below. You'll get a special deal through my link. Whether you're brand new at dropshipping or an experienced dropshipper, definitely check these guys out. Now back to the podcast. Yeah, and that's been my concern about this whole thing is like it seems like algorithmic personalities are on the rise where it's like it's no longer about necessarily like your style, your content or whatever. It's only about what the algorithm will favor and catering to the algorithm, therefore worshiping in the honor the algorithm like it is a god. And I can totally see like that's totally understandable when you're like marketing a product or whatever. It's like, of course, like if you have e-commerce product or like I don't know, digital product or literally anything like that you're selling, it's makes sense to cater to the algorithm. But it gets a little weird when you are the product. Like say you have a course or something, but you're the face of it. It's like kind of gets weird because then you become the product and then you have to market yourself like you would a product, but you're not a product. Like you're a human being with morals, values, and whatnot. So what you do, like it's one thing if you have an e-commerce brand and then like you're doing some outrageous stuff to go viral and then that increases sales on the product. But like when you have your own personal brand and this is going to reflect on you the rest of your life, what you do is definitely going to matter a lot more than an e-commerce product that you'll sell or shut down one day. Like this is going to follow you the rest of your life. And I think that's where this weird disconnect comes from that I'm seeing on the dark side of like the online money sort of thing. Especially, I think it's always funny when like it's accidental too, like or like it goes really badly, and they're like, "Oh, it's all part of the plan" or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're really onto something there. It's like there's this blending of personal identity and marketing strategy, and that can get really tricky when the product is essentially you and your reputation. It's definitely a different ballgame than just selling a product that you can walk away from. And yeah, it is kind of ironic when someone tries something outrageous, it flops, and then they're like, oh, that was all part of the master plan. It's like a way of saving face after the fact. But it's a really good point to emphasize to people that when you're building a personal brand, those choices stick with you. And sometimes the short term viral gain just isn't worth the long term hit to your credibility. So it's definitely a fascinating and sometimes a bit of a cautionary tale about the digital world we're in.
Right. Okay, so now that we're on the personal brand side of things, like info products and courses, have there been any major lawsuits or major controversies that have come from somebody selling a course or a personal brand that you can talk about?
Yeah, definitely. So in the past year or so, there have been a few notable legal cases that kind of overlap with the personal brand and info product world. One example is more on the trademark and free speech side, where the Supreme Court had a case called Jack Daniels Properties versus VIP products. That one wasn't directly about a course, but it did affect how personal brands can use parody or commentary without stepping on trademark toes, which can be relevant if you're building a personal brand that leans into that kind of content. And then there are those more personal controversies. For instance, there was a high profile situation involving Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively with allegations of misconduct on a film set.
Okay,
While
yeah,
it's
but hey, you're naming stuff that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Like, is there anyone who specifically who has sold a course that got into some like serious legal trouble for doing it?
So one recent example that came up involves a guy named Kevin David, who was a pretty well-known course creator in the e-commerce and Amazon FBA space. He ended up facing a major lawsuit from the FTC alleging that he misled customers with deceptive income claims about his courses and coaching programs. Essentially, they said he promised people they'd make lots of money, but the reality didn't match up, and that led to some serious legal heat. So that's a pretty on point example of someone with a personal brand and info products who ended up in legal trouble because of the way they marketed their courses. It's definitely a reminder that when you're selling knowledge, how you present it and the claims you make really do matter legally.
That's interesting. I've heard the name before. I don't know him personally. Could you give me more details? Like, why did they come after him, and like, how much did he have to pay, and all that? Because I didn't know he even got sued.
Yeah, definitely. So the FTC actually went after Kevin David. His full name is Kevin David Hulse, and his company for deceptive marketing practices. They basically charged him with making these big, unfounded promises of huge returns to people who bought his courses, or got involved in his online business and crypto schemes. So the issue was really about making promises that didn't line up with the reality and misleading customers into thinking they were going to make a lot of money easily. In terms of what happened, they ended up reaching a settlement where Kevin David and his company had to pay about $2.6 million, which the FTC then used to refund consumers who were harmed by those schemes. In fact, by 2024, they'd sent out about $2.8 million in refunds to affected consumers. So, yeah, it was a pretty big deal and definitely a cautionary tale in the world of course selling and personal branding.
Jeez. Yeah. So that's what I was kind of bringing up before is like people like when it comes to making money online, especially when you're young, it's like they'll just do whatever because the consequences, like especially like if you haven't had really much consequence in your life, you don't know how serious this consequence can be. But something like that's a great tale. Um, yeah, I mean that's a cautionary tale for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does show how those consequences can catch up, especially when you're just starting out and maybe not fully aware of how big the stakes can get. But yeah, it's definitely a good cautionary tale to keep in mind as we shift into whatever you want to dive into next.
Yeah, so I remember when 2021 came around, we had the rise of NFTs. And what the NFT thing was really interesting to me and why I personally try to stay away from it is because like I'd see people launching NFTs with these like big promises that were just in no way fulfillable or like eventually would not be fulfillable. Like for example, I don't know, just like access to the a course for life or like events for life or whatever. But it's like when if you are promising like 4 events a year and then you stop doing events, like there's only two outcomes. Like you shut it down or you take the money and run. Like it looked very messy. So when it comes to the NFT thing, like were there any serious lawsuits involving NFT launches? Because crypto, now that we're touching into that, seems like more of the wild wild west when it comes to crime. Like obviously there's things that you can get away with in crypto you cannot get away with like stocks or like actual like money investment sort of thing. So yeah, I'd just like to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been quite a few notable NFT related lawsuits in the past couple of years. For instance, one of the big cases involved Logan Paul and his CryptoZoo NFT project. That one turned into a class action lawsuit because people felt misled after the project didn't deliver on its promises. As of mid 2024, a judge recommended dismissing the case, but the plaintiffs still have a chance to amend their claims and keep it going. There's also been a case involving Ryder Ripps and Jeremy Kane, who created a lookalike NFT collection that was almost identical to the Gord Yacht Club. Yuga Labs. That case got pretty heated, and while a previous judgment was overturned, it's heading back to trial. And then you got even bigger names like Nike facing a class action lawsuit over their RTFKT NFTs. The claim there was that they were promoting what amounted to unregistered securities, which obviously Stetson is legal territory. So yeah, the NFT space has definitely had a share of big legal dust-ups, and it really is a bit like the Wild West out there when it comes to what people can get away with, or at least try to compare to more traditional investments.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's what's interesting about then versus now is because I feel like then it was so new that people were kind of posing it as like this, oh, this investment or whatever, and then they knew that the legal terminology and repercussions weren't necessarily there quite yet. Like obviously, you're gonna get slammed so hard if you try to do what you did with, an NFT opposed to a company's like a company, like or like a Kickstarter, something of that nature. So now that it's 2025, I'm wondering, it's different. You take something like Pump Fund, since meme coins are the big thing right now. Pump Fund, I don't think anyone's going on there looking for a serious investment. Like I'm gonna invest in this for the long term. It's funny when I watch people trade meme coins and they're like, I think I'm gonna hold this one for the long term. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, how long? And they're like, I don't know, like 24 to 72 hours. So there is no like value behind these meme coins, and everybody who goes onto something like Pump Fund, Believe, Moonshot, any of these is going there for it's kind of like a casino base. Like you're going into the casino hoping to make money from it. You're not going into the casino and expecting a return on your investment unless you're buying part of the casino essentially. So I'm just curious what you think about that when it comes to like the legal repercussions, the legal terms of people who are willingly walking into something like Pump Fund knowing that there's no value behind the money that they're putting in. They're just hoping to put the money in and then get more money when they pull it out, sort of like the greater fools theory. So I'm wondering what position the law has on that, since it's kind of a very gray area, and in your opinion as an AI, if you think that like if anybody gets rug pulled, like they have any position to like want like a lawsuit to happen.
Yeah, it's a really interesting and definitely kind of murky area because, like you said, when people jump into meme coins or platforms like Pump.Fun, they're usually doing it with a kind of casino mindset. They know it's speculative, they know it's risky, and they're kind of hoping for that quick win. And that does create a weird legal gray area. From a legal standpoint, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If someone is really upfront about the fact that this is pure speculation and there's no inherent value, then it's harder for people to claim they're misled. It's kind of like saying you knew the risks when you went into the casino. But on the flip side, if there's any element of fraud, like if someone is pretending that it's more stable than it is, or hiding the fact that they're planning a rug pull, then there can definitely still be legal consequences in those cases.
That's the thing. It's like every coin on there is going to be a rug pull eventually. Like there's no coin, there's very very few coins that launch on there that don't end up going back to where they started. So like everything is a rug pull, essentially. So that's why I'm saying like I question like where does the legality of that start and end, because clearly you can't do that with like any other thing besides crypto.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's a really unique situation that you just don't see in other markets. And I think that's what makes it so tricky from a legal perspective. In traditional investments, or even something like a Kickstarter, there are certain baseline expectations and regulations that have been around for a while. But with meme coins or these super speculative crypto platforms, the entire premise is always like, hey, you're stepping into a space where everyone knows it's a gamble. And that can make it a lot harder to draw a clear line legally about when someone has really been defrauded versus when they just took an end risk. That said, if someone running a platform like that is actively lying or making promises they know they can't keep, then there's definitely still potential for legal action. But if everyone involved kind of understands that it's all a gamble, the law might take a step back and say, well, you know what you're getting into. So it's definitely a gray area that's still about weight.
All right, moving on to the next topic. This is something interesting I've thought about quite a bit. So, when it comes to forex trading, I have known a lot of entrepreneurs in my life. I've known a lot of traders in my life. I've just known a lot of people in my life. Of all those people, traders, entrepreneurs, and anyone involved in online money, I've never once met anybody who legitimately was successful at forex trading. Wha- Um, so my question to you is, how come forex trading seems to be like the lowest level course scam that there is. Like it seems that it's the one thing because I've met plenty of people in drop shipping who are successful. Plenty of people at crypto who are successful. Plenty of people at real estate, Airbnb, like literally every facet, stock trading, every facet of online money. But for some reason, forex seems to be like the epitome of what attracts the most scammers in terms of attracting them in the sense of using that as the launch pad for like where they found success or whatever. So what do you think it is about forex that does this, and do you agree with my assessment that that seems to be mainly like people who scam?
Yeah, I think you're definitely touching on something that a lot of people have noticed. Forex trading does tend to have that reputation as kind of a magnet for get rich quick schemes and a lot of those more questionable course sellers. And I think there are a few reasons for that. First, Forex is a huge market and it's very liquid and operates 24/7, which makes it appealing. But it also means there's a lot of volatility and complexity. So it's easy for someone to come along and say, hey, I got a secret strategy that'll make you rich. And because it's not as familiar to a lot of people as, say, the stock market, it can sound more mysterious and alluring. Second, a lot of the legitimate Forex trading is done by big institutions with sophisticated tools, and it's genuinely hard for an individual to consistently make money there. That creates a gap where people who aren't really making money trading can turn to selling courses instead because it's easier to make money teaching the dream than actually trading successfully. So yeah, I think you're right that it's a area that has attracted a lot of the more questionable operators. Doesn't mean no one can be successful in Forex, but it does seem to be a hotspot for those kind of scams.
This podcast is brought to you by dropshipping.ai. That means this podcast is brought to you by myself. This is my website. This website is completely free for everybody. I don't want your money now or later. This is not some funnel. This is completely free. You get a free dropshipping store built by AI. You get free products chosen by AI, and you get a free course on how to use AI to dropship in the modern day era. AI has changed every industry. Everybody knows that, and dropshipping is not excluded. We have the most relevant, most powerful, most up-to-date information specifically tailored to dropshipping and AI fusion that we're seeing right now. And like I said before, this is completely free. I'm one of Shopify's top affiliates in the entire world. In fact, I was awarded top Shopify affiliate in North America, so they pay me to give you guys this for free. It's a beautiful cycle called the cycle of life. So if you want to support yourself and support this podcast and support me, go to dropshipping.ai, claim that store, claim those products, claim that course, and let's get back to the podcast. Okay, so yeah, it's probably because that's what's so weird is like because crypto's the same way, right? I think Forex shuts down for like an hour. I actually did not hear you clearly when you said that, but yeah, crypto's 24/7, and I know plenty of people who lots of people who make money in crypto legitimately. But when it comes to Forex, I don't know. It just seems like like anyone who says they do Forex, like it's almost a guarantee that they're scamming somehow. And that's what I find so interesting about that because I'm sure plenty of people do it. Like it's guaranteed people find success in it. But like you would think after 8 years of being in this space, I would have found at least one person who's like a Forex trader who actually does Forex.
Yeah, it's definitely a curious pattern.
That's it.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it.
All right. um, yeah. So is there any current like could you tell me any current investigations or law changes that they're trying to do towards everything we've talked about to prevent like the scamming or
Hey, I'm still here. No worries at all. I totally get what you're asking. And yeah, there are definitely some ongoing efforts and changes happening in the lethal world to try to crack down on some of these scams and make things a bit more transparent. For example, regulators are definitely stepping up their game when it comes to crypto and NFTs. The SEC and other regulatory bodies are working on clearer guidelines about what counts as a security and trying to enforce more disclosure requirements. And on the Forex and course selling side, the FTC is definitely keeping an eye out for misleading claims and taking action when they can. So yeah, there are ongoing efforts to put more guardrails in place and protect people from some of the 8-year stuff out there. It's definitely an evolving landscape.
so what are some other dark sides of online money that you could tell me about?
Yeah, for sure. There are definitely a few other dark sides we can channel light on. One that comes to mind is affiliate marketing gone wrong. Sometimes you get people who promote products they don't believe in at all, just for the commission, and that leads to a lot of low quality or even scammy products getting pushed onto consumers. So the whole trust factor can take a hit when affiliate marketing is done in a giddy way. Another angle is the whole guru culture around online business. You get these influencers who make more money selling the idea of success than actually running real businesses. And that can lead to this whole ecosystem of people selling courses to each other without any real substance behind it. And then, of course, there are straight up scams like Ponzi schemes that get dressed up as investment opportunities or fake e commerce stores that they never deliver products. So, yeah, there are definitely a lot of shady corners in the online money world. It's always going to be aware of them.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. You actually brought up a good point because I forgot about this. I've heard of black hat affiliate marketing. Could you give me some examples of that, of what could be considered black hat as well as gray hat?
Absolutely. So, when we talk about black hat affiliate marketing, we're usually talking about tactics that are deceptive or unethical. For example, someone might use fake reviews or create entirely fake testimonial sites that make a product look way better than it is just to drive sales through their affiliate links. Another black hat tactic might be cookie stuffing, where an affiliate secretly drops tracking cookies on a user's browser without them knowing. So they get credit for sales they didn't really earn. Or they might use misleading ads that promise one thing but lead to a completely different offer. Now, gray hat tactics are kind of in that middle ground where it's not outright fraud, but it's still kind of sketchy. That might include things like slightly exaggerating the benefits of a product, or you choosing aggressive upsell tactics that aren't fully transparent. So yeah, black hat is more on the outright deceptive side, and gray hat is more like bending the rules without totally breaking them.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. As I asked you before about dropshipping, crypto, and online money, personal brands, has there been any major cases against somebody doing black hat affiliate marketing where they had to face like severe repercussions or any massive payouts?
So interestingly, while there aren't any headline grabbing lawsuits specifically from 2023 or 2024 that jumped out for black hat affiliate marketing, there was a pretty notable situation just recently in early 2025. Quo Intelligence actually uncovered a large scale affiliate fraud campaign that used AI generated content and fake social media accounts to run black hat SEO schemes. This was mainly in the iGaming and VPN sectors, and it was all about manipulating rankings and deceiving users, while that particular case is more about exposure and ongoing investigation, other than a massive lawsuit. With a huge payout, it does show that these kinds of black hat affiliate tactics are still very much on the radar. And as regulators and watchdog groups catch on, we might see more legal action coming down the line. So it's definitely something that's still evolving.
So I see a lot of times companies obviously will pay influencers to promote a certain product or certain brand, certain crypto. I'm wondering how much does the influencer who's getting paid to promote something hold responsibility towards any ill things that happen afterwards? Because like say I don't know, some company pays a bunch of influencers to promote a product, a physical product, and then they get all these sales, and then the company just takes the money and runs to the Bahamas or something like that. Do the influencers have some sort of responsibility, and can they be sued and have to pay out for promoting a product that ended up being a scam?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's something that's actually been coming up more and more lately. Influencers can definitely be held responsible to some degree, especially if they're promoting something without doing any due diligence or if they're making claims that turn out to be false. In some cases, influencers have been sued alongside the companies they promoted if it turns out they were involved in pushing a scam, even if they didn't know it was a scam. If they didn't take reasonable steps to verify the product or they made misleading statements, they can be found partially liable. Of course, the level of responsibility can vary. If the influencer genuinely had no idea and did some level of vetting, they might have a better defense. But if they just took the money and promoted something shady without a second thought, they could definitely end up facing legal trouble. So, you give a reminder for anyone with a platform to be careful about what they promote.
Right. Okay. Moving on, I did think of another great question just now. Can you find me any cases where somebody was drop shipping a product that ended up causing like serious harm to people? Whether because I know like one of the big things back in the day was this charcoal face mask, and I'd heard stories. I don't know if they're verified of people's like skin getting burned, and then I would see people drop shipping stuff that like went in your eye or something like that. I'm like, that's crazy. I always stayed away from the health stuff because things can go really bad. Or like, I mean, people are even drop shipping like supplements and whatnot. I'm like, man, it's just like if you're not creating what you're selling and people are ingesting it, putting it on their skin or their body or inside of them, like you're just asking for trouble. So I'm wondering if you know of any cases where someone was drop shipping one of those products and it ended up causing like serious harm to people.
So, one recent example that stands out is actually a 2024 case involving a company called ACF Wholesale. Now, this one was more about furniture. So, it's not quite the skincare supplement angle, but it's a good illustration of a dropshipping company taking orders and payments and then just never delivering. In that case, it led to a class action lawsuit because consumers were left high and dry without refunds. But to your point about products that cause physical harm, yes, there had been cases like that as well. In the past, there have been lawsuits around things like defective beauty products or unregulated supplements that were dropshipped and ended up causing health issues.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Could you find me any specific cases like that? And I've noticed that throughout the podcast, you've looked only back like a year, maybe 2 years. Like, feel free to look back for the past like 10 years. To find any instances of anything we talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely widen the search a bit. So, looking back over the past decade, there have definitely been a few notable cases involving dropship products that ended up causing harm. One example that stands out was around 2018 when there were a lot of issues with defective hoverboards being sold online. Some of these were dropshipped from overseas suppliers and ended up catching fire, causing property damage and even injuries. That led to various lawsuits and raised awareness about the risks of dropshipping products without proper safety checks. Another area has been counterfeit or unregulated cosmetics. There have been cases where people bought dropship skincare or contain harmful ingredients, leading to skin reactions or other health problems. Those cases did sometimes result in lawsuits against the sellers, especially if they were found to be negligent in vetting their suppliers. So, yeah, it's definitely something that's happened over the years and a good reminder of the importance of being careful with what you're selling.
Before we end, I'm just wondering if you have anything to add. Like, do you have any other topics that you think would be interesting to talk about in terms of just the broad dark side of online money on any facet?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely covered a lot of ground and it's been a really cool deep dive. I guess one last angle that might be interesting to think about is just the idea of digital identity theft in the online money space. Sometimes scammers will use fake identities or even steal other people's profiles to run their deals, which adds a whole other layer of risk. It's not just about the money, it's also about protecting your online identity from being used in ways you didn't expect. But yeah, I think we've hit a lot of the big topics. It's been
Oh,
awesome.
okay. So that's interesting. So you're saying like people who do like the black hat drop shipping or no ship or anything like that, they generally use someone else's identity to run the payments through?
Yeah, exactly. That can sometimes be another layer of the whole operation. Some of these bad actors might use stolen identities or create fake profiles to process payments, making it harder to track them down and adding an extra level of fraud. So it's kind of a double whammy. Not only are they scamming customers, but they might be using someone else's identity to do it.
Well, that's crazy because then they would have to have a bank under their this fake identity too, right?
Yeah, exactly. They'd often head up either fake bank accounts or use stolen financial information to create those accounts. Or they might rely on shady payment processors that don't do a lot of verification. It's all part of that effort to cover their tracks and make it harder to trace them back to a real person. So, yeah, definitely can get pretty elaborate on that front.
Wow, very interesting. And I guess we can close on this topic since it's the darkest. Is there any case that has ever happened where somebody died from a drop shipping product? Because you were mentioning earlier, like those ports were catching fire and all that stuff. I'm just wondering if anything like that has like killed someone or someone ingested something that they got drop shipped and killed them or whatever. I'm just wondering since that's like the darkest it could go.
So, looking back over the past decade or so, there haven't been any high profile cases that popped up, specifically where a dropshipping product directly caused a death and led to a major lawsuit. At least not ones that made big headlines. But it's definitely the kind of thing that could happen in theory, especially with risky or poorly made products. And like you said, it is kind of the darkest scenario, but it does underline why it's so important to be careful about what you're selling and to think about safety and quality. So yeah, definitely a sobering agenda.
Makes sense. Well, ChatGPT, thank you for another conversation. For some reason, you're cutting in and out on this one a little bit more than usual, but smooth most of the time as usual.
Hey, no worries at all. I'm glad we got to dig into all these topics. It was definitely a fascinating chat. Sorry if I was cutting in and out a bit on this one, but I'm glad it was mostly smooth sailing. Always happy to dive into these kinds of conversations with you. And if you ever want to chat more, just let me know.
Great. Thanks so much.